Hey, this is Andrew Brown from the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, bringing you another video, and we're continuing on with developing this Cloud Project Bootcamp validation tool. It's been a few hours since I've been looking at this, and so I've had a few things about if this is going to even work in practice because of the amount of outputted files. My goal was to try to leverage ChatGPT or an LLM in order to make the debugging flexible. I'm not sure if that's going to really work out, but I guess we'll just continue on here and figure it out and see what can be done with what we have. So what I want to do is go into my examples directory, and I need to make my .env as we did before. So I'll go ahead and just copy this here, paste this in, allow. We already have our access keys and secrets set. I need to do a bundle install on this directory for the gem itself, and then I'm going to go into my examples directory here and then do another bundle install. But I do think that I have made improvements from my older implementation, or third implementation of sandboxes. But one thing I was thinking that we are missing here would be CloudFormation, because we might want to list out those as well, because we want to validate that bootcampers have been using CloudFormation. And so I'm going to go over to my CLI reference here, and I'm going to look for CloudFormation, because that's just kind of one that I just thought about that we just kind of forgot. And in here, we should be able to see a list of stacks. So that's something that I might be interested in, is getting a list of stacks. We have stack resources, other things. I didn't even know there was these here. There's stack sets, but let's go over here. Return summary information about stack instances that are associated with a specified stack. You can filter for stack instances. Okay, so let's see what the example would be. About a stack that failed to update. Returns descriptions of all resources for a specific stack. That's kind of interesting. So that would give us exactly what's in there, and then we have list stacks. Return the summary information of stacks whose status matches the specified stack status filter. So go to examples down below here. That one might be a bit tricky because then you'd have to be matching on that particular thing. We go back over here. Do we have to specify a stack name? But anyway, we'll go over to AWS here, or over here, and just run our stuff. So that needs a stack set name. So that's not as useful as I was hoping for. Let's take a look. Does this one need one as well? Well, I chose list stacks. Maybe I'm forgetting the S on there. And Cloud Project Access Tool. And that's because that is in that particular region. So if I go US or CA Central 1 here. That'll actually get us our stack. So at least the stack, the stack list is useful. The resources one is probably useful too. If we know the exact stack name, I think it is useful. So what we'll do is we'll make our way over to our left-hand side here. We'll make a new one called CloudFormation.rb. And I'm just going to split that here. I just need a top here, so we'll paste that in. CloudFormation, we'll go to the bottom here, and we'll paste that in here. We will copy that here. We'll go over like that. And so, yeah, I'm going to want to have def self, or we'll say CloudFormation list stacks for this one. Output file. We want the region as well in here. So region. There's this one. Then we have CloudFormation list stack resources. So region, output file. Was it like stack name was the third one on that one? Yeah, stack name. There we go. So getting close to what we want. We'll go ahead and just grab this here quickly, and we'll paste this in. This one is going to be CloudFormation list stacks. We don't have Code Whisperer turned on right now. We'll turn it on when I feel like it, if we even need it. But right now I think I'm doing okay. And we'll go down below here. This one's going to be list stack resources. And then this one wants that stack name. So we'll do stack name and then stack name like that. Okay, and so now we have those two commands that we can run. We'll make our way over back to here where we have our particular project. Again, I don't think it should live here, but we will move it later on. We aren't really using that validations thing here, and we haven't been using ChatGPT as planned, so that might change. And so what we'll do is go up to here to CloudFormation list stacks. And this is a region-specific one. We're going to put this wherever the C goes here. So it's going to go right here at the top. And then down below here where we have a bunch of these, we're going to go in here and place in this one, which would go into our, I suppose here. Element OPQRS. Yep, so it would show up earlier here. So the question really is like, do we do soft scanning or do we ask the users to provide exact keys? And you know, that's just kind of the hard part that I've been having a hard time figuring out. But the other part is just like when we download that JSON file, how do we want, if we were to use an LLM or ChatGPT, how would we want it to analyze that information? Most of the times what I want to do is just extract out values out of them. And so there are other models that OpenAI has that are more inexpensive. And those actually might be the most ideal here. So if we go over to their products and we go over to their overview, it might show us here. Actually, you know what? It was under pricing, I think I saw last time. And so here we can see Ada is the fastest with the lowest transactions, and it's really, really inexpensive. And this might be useful for just extracting out values, because if we download those JSON files, we then have to, you know, figure out what's going on with them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to our validations tool. I'm just curious. Well, you know, the question is, do we hard code how do we check for JSON, or do we ask Ada to do it? Because when we download those files, and maybe that's what we can do here, we'll run them here. Actually, before we do, I need to make sure that we include that in our commands directory here. So I'll go over here, and I'll just go up. We'll say CloudFormation like that. So that is now included. But what we'll do is run this tool, bundle exec rake AWS, or run AWS 2023, because that's the year. And we do have an error here, issue with our CloudFormation, so I must be missing an end on this. So we'll go over here, and I am. This one should have an end on it. I'll go ahead and hit up. And so that's going to work through and download files, but I just needed to see a few files so we can talk around this here. But if I open this up, the idea is that, you know, if we are using something and we need to extract out a value, right, it's a lot easier to ask, hopefully, Ada to say like, hey, just give me this data out of it, as opposed to me manually writing to select the data out. Because, I mean, the APIs aren't going to probably change too much, but I think it might reduce the amount of variables that we have to deal with. You know, maybe it's not the best choice to use Ada for this, but we'll look at it anyway. So what I want to do is go over to the OpenAPI documentation. And I mean, there's text completion, but what I'm looking for is where we change out the bots. I think I'd rather go to the API reference because that might be a little bit easier to find stuff. This is called what? What are we doing right here? This is doing chat. And it's not that I even really need chat, I just want instructions, but we'll go over here. Give a prompt, the model will return one or more predicted completions. You can also return the probabilities of an alternate token. So creates a completion for the provided prompt and parameters. I mean, that's completions. That's not exactly what I'm making requests. I'm just trying to see if there's a difference between completions and other things. Chat seems to be just, well, chatting, right? Whereas completions would be like finishing your code. So what I'm looking for here is different kind of models we can swap out. And I remember seeing this before. Model endpoint compatibility. So we'll go over here. And I'm trying to figure out, how do we choose Ada? And text DaVinci 003, text Babbage 03. And so it's showing you what can use what. So for chat completions, that's up here. And then for down below here, these are completions. So these are considered completions as well. So maybe really what we want to do is completions. So go back over here. Using OpenAI, you can build your own applications. So I want to see how this works with Ada. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Maybe the best thing to do is ask ChatGPT. We'll go to 4 because maybe we'll get better results. Using the Open API Ruby SDK, let's feed Ada model JSON and ask it to extract out the project ID. I just want to see what we come up with. And we'll just sit back here and let it generate. I'm hoping that's going to tell us something useful. So JSON, parse the JSON, access the project ID from the hash. This assumes project ID is a top level key. Well, but it's not. We don't know where it is. The message prompt is to ask it to return the project ID from the JSON. See, I don't know how these work. I keep thinking that other one works a bit different. So this one's talking about GPT-4, it seems like. Okay, so the question is, how feasible is this? And that's what I want to find out. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to go over to our validations tool here. And this one is GPT-4. I'm going to go down here and say self run. I just kind of want to make a new one. So maybe I'll just go over to our rake file here. And what I want to do is just kind of load this stuff in here. So I'm just going to go down here and say task Ada test. We'll just call it Ada. Ada, there we go. And this is just so we can quickly run this code. And this seems okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab these two things up here. Okay, and then I'm just going to grab the rest of this. Back over here. And we'll go down here. And we'll paste this in. So, yeah, here we have our JSON data. Now, this is not optimized. It should really be smaller than this. And we do have an API key. It is set as something. I think that this already defaults to some values. So if we already have them set, it should already load it, I think. Because notice we're not specifying that anywhere here. So I already believe that this will load it. So I'll just do that and make the client. I'll bring this down after the data. Okay, and so I'll just do this. And so hopefully ChatGPT just works. I didn't know you can do single quotations like that in Ruby. That's kind of weird to see that. I wonder how that would, I wonder if that would be optimized and not have all the spaces. I'm actually kind of curious about that, but that's interesting. Anyway, we'll go down here and let's see if this actually works. So I'm going to go rake, bundle exec rake Ada. And we'll go up here. Don't know how to build Ada. It's right here. Maybe because it's within the namespace, so I might have placed that in there by accident. I did. So we'll just go here, cut this out, and make this top level. Okay, we'll go up and hit enter, and we'll see what we get back. Uninitialized constant OpenAI. Well, I mean, I did specify it here. Bundle install again. I guess that's not installed at this level. It's actually installed in the plugin. So in our gem file here, I'm just going to have to add it. Gem OpenAI. This is, of course, a test. We don't really want to leave that in there. And we'll try this again. And we'll see what the problem is here. Missing keyword API key. Where is that appearing? Line 41. So we'll go back over here for a moment and, well, yeah, so that must have been configured somewhere. I just don't know where it is. So it was in our very old code. Maybe we deleted it out by accident. So I know that we have an open API key. Open API key nvar. I'm just trying to remember what we set it as before. I don't remember. Just give me a moment here. I just want to do this off screen so I'm not exposing those values, okay? All right, I'm back. So here was those settings. I'm going to go over, I think where we saw that example was the Ruby Open API SDK. Is probably where we saw that configuration first. Yeah, right here. And so, you know, I'm surprised I don't have this in our code, but we'll go ahead and paste that in. I thought maybe it was just taking it from those. And yeah, those are the same. So I'll go ahead and just take that. You can do the dot fetch. I usually don't do the dot fetch. But we'll go ahead and try this one more time. Ada here. Undefined method configure for OpenAPI module. What the heck is going on here? Of course it uses that. But it did write code for us, so it could be a little bit different. Configure for OpenAI module, line 40. I don't understand. Seems like it should just take it. That's confusing. This worked before. Let me play around with this for a second, okay? You know, one thing I noticed is that we called it OpenAI, not Ruby OpenAI, so that could be a different version of it, which is kind of annoying that there are two like that. So I'm going to try this instead, and we will go ahead and do a bundle install again. Whoops. Bundle install. That's probably why it isn't working. We probably don't need to specify the configuration, but try this again. And we'll pull this up and run this again. Uninitialized constants OpenAI. So now it's singular. This could just be a conflict with what is actually being used here. Yeah, notice this is lowercase, so I'm just going to go AI. And we'll hit enter again here. And yeah, so it's having a little bit of trouble. Let's go back over to the Ruby one. It's clearly ChatGPT produced something else. What I'm looking for here, yeah, is completions. So pretty similar, except this one does client.completions. They can't really go too far from the implementation, so. Trying to copy paste that there. Paste that in. Okay, so I have ADA, the prompt, the max tokens. I'm going to double check, make sure that is correct. It is. Similar, this is response choices map. This one is just pulling the first one and stripping out the content, which is totally fine. We could do both, but I don't think there would be choices. But what we can do here is just print out both here, and then we'll see. So I'll just go here, puts like this, and this will be that. They're going to be very similar. I just want to make sure I'm not missing out on data if I do that. If I can even get it running. And we'll go up here, and still missing an end here. So that's up here. That's my fault. So we'll put that there. And we might not need this block at all, but I'm just going to leave it in. Let's go look at the code. Model prompt max tokens. Okay, similar, but slightly different. And it's in a thing called parameters. Okay. So getting closer, parameters. You can't always just take ChatGPT's code, but we're hoping that it can grade your stuff. We'll see. Or at least help a little bit here. Well, the first one is fine. Oh, because this one would make sense. The first one we don't know because that is the other one. So I'm just going to grab this one here. And we'll try this again. Undefined method map for nil class. Well, it's supposed to return a response. It didn't do it. Well, this one does a dig, but that's different. This one's like this. How it just puts the response. Let's just see if we get anything back. Error, invalid request error, nil, invalid API key. Okay, so it's saying my API key is invalid. Not sure why. I'm just going to go and comment these out. I might have expired my key purposely just so that it wasn't getting utilized. So I'll be back here and I guess set my values again, okay? I'll be back in just a moment. All right, so I just swapped out that key there. Let's go ahead and give this another go. So we'll do bundle exec rake ADA. And we're getting stuff back. So yeah, we're getting in better shape than before. Text completion. I mean, it's not really what I want. To extract the project ID, put the ID below in the name of the JSON object and point it at the JSON object. I mean, I understand that. I just want it to go do that. Do you understand? I'm not asking how to do it. I'm asking, given the following JSON structure, I mean, maybe I just don't understand how this thing's supposed to work. Instruct models are optimized to follow single turn instructions. Ada is the fastest model, while DaVinci's... Okay, let's read about these things. Models can understand and generate natural language. These models were succeeded by GPT 3.5. However, these models are currently only models that are available to fine-tune. So what? I mean, I want to know capable of faster, lower cost than DaVinci. Great, but I want it to return the value. Okay. I'm just reading here. I'm just trying to figure out, decide whether Yeah, so here are some things we could do, like classification, improve the classifier's efficiency, generation, conversation, transformation. Great. Open the playground here. Maybe we should just be in the playground here. Yeah, this is completion here. So let's try to give it the same thing. Maybe that's our problem. We should play around first. Okay, and so this is what we told it to do, right? And we were using Ada. Okay, submit. So it looks really stupid. Okay, so Ada is useless. All right, it can't even extract data out. So we'll try out Babbage. Okay, this one is dumb as well. And by the way, we can just, maybe to make this a little bit easier, we can put this on the same line just for a moment here. All right. We'll try this again. Maybe it'll be a bit smarter if it's like this format. The following JSON in the format has this. The JSON format is this. Okay, still not doing what I wanted to do. Let's go here and try curry. Okay. Let's try. These things are terrible at completion. DaVinci 3. Actually, that worked. Okay, cool. So let's go back over to here. You know, again, we don't need the smartest thing. We just need it smart enough. So we'll go back to, was it GitHub, DaVinci, OpenAI. I go back to the pricing because it really comes down to pricing, but those other models are completely useless. So sure, you can make them as cheap as you want, but that's not going to help anything. So DaVinci is at 0.2, where this one is, this says 0.02. This one's at 0.002. So it's still cheaper to use this. It's still cheaper to use GPT-4. So, okay, well, DaVinci is the most powerful, but it can't do anything. So what's the point? We'll go back over here and just try this again. Let's try text Ada. Maybe these, it has to say text. But I thought those ones are all gone. Okay, so that one worked fine. So maybe it's not the fact that we're using, like, these models might be slightly different. So capable of simple tasks, usually the fastest model. Parsing text, simple classification, address corrections, keywords. And down here, parsing text, simple classification. But there clearly is a difference. So let's go back over to here and say, what is the difference between Ada and Ada text Ada 001? Now, clearly one is trained for text and the other one is dumb as bricks. Text Ada 001, I believe it was. Just trying to find where we were. Getting a little bit lost. We'll close some of these tabs out. Well, it is. All right, I'm gonna go back over here for a second. What happens if we switch this over to Ada? Sorry. Yeah, so it's doing something different. This text one is actually quite is not as useful. But we'll, given the following, please extract the project key. Given the following, I'm going to put in the other order here. Given the following project. Let's see if it can still do it. Okay, it can still do that. There we go. So that's a little bit more smart. Great. I don't know why I did it twice there. You know what? It's probably because of my double click. Whoa, what happened there? We can also hit enter, it seems like. So I'm going to do, or control enter. Let's see if, just to make sure it's a bit more controlled. Okay. I just want to see that it's always giving back the same number here. So it's not consistently bringing back the right number. So that's not going to work. Let's go up to text Babbage. Good. 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 No problem so far. Good. Good. Okay, so Babbage seems like it's being very consistent in behavior. It is 0005 compared to this, which is 002. So this has an extra 0. If we want to be at the same equivalence of GPT-3, we'd be using Curry. But you know, right now, I'd say this is pretty darn inexpensive, and I wouldn't mind seeing how well this thing does. So I guess the question is, what happens when we provide a lot more text? I don't know. I need to go in and find something a bit more like difficult here. So if we go into, let's say this one here, or over here, I might say something like return yeah, so I want to load this one file here. So what I'm going to do is drag this down here so I get its full path. Okay. I'm going to go back over to our gem file. Go paste this in here. There was something in the documentation that we should be careful about. Let's close that out so we don't show that off there. We'll go back to the API references. I just want to make sure that some of these models aren't being depreciated or deprecated, whatever the proper word is. No, yeah, so those are still fine, I believe. Yeah, and so what we want here is Babbage, because Babbage is good enough. Okay, we'll go back here. And I don't know why it's so hot in here. I don't have any heat running. It's blistering hot. We'll go ahead and paste this in here. Okay. And should still be kind of okay. I'm not sure about the temperature. I really do want it to be accurate and not, well, first of all, let's not do it there because this is not what we're updating. We're updating our rake file. Sorry. And I want to go down here to this. And I want to change this to our new prompt here. Great. And I'm going to go back here and just change this a bit. Paste this in here. And yeah, we want a new line. We don't need double new line. Okay. And so message. 1 second here. I'm just going to do it this way. I'm just trying to make it easier so I can edit it. And we'll go here, do that. And then here, I'll just put that there. Say dot join. And we'll join that with a new line. If it helps it, I'm not sure if that actually helps it. So instead of doing that, I want to load this project data in here. So just say file.read, and then I'll provide this path here to it. Even go above here and just say path. And I'll just say path. It'll be JSON.parse, I think. JSON.parse. JSON.parse. And it's not that we want to parse it, it's just I want to format it. So we'll go back to GPT. In Ruby, I want to format JSON from a file to remove all line breaks and spaces. Okay. So read it, that's what I'm doing, JSON parse. Okay, and so hopefully that just does what we want. I would like to check out the formatted JSON before pass it along here. So yeah, file.read. It's probably a way we can do it in one line, but whatever. JSON data, parse it, puts it here. We'll just say return true. Okay, so I just want to see that printed out. This is now not ADA, it's just going to be completion. Or just say chat for now. Line 150. Well, first of all, we don't need this JSON data. This is useless now here. I'm just going to ignore this here and this. And all of this stuff down here, all the way down here to the ground. Okay, we'll try this again. Still complaining. Line 150. I'm not trying to, oh, you know what? Is it because I'm running, well, I'm running ADA, so it shouldn't be running. Why does it even care about this one? Line 150, unexpected, oh, for frick's sakes. I introduced a bug there in this one, that's probably why. This is actually chat. No implicit hash to string on line 31. Well, it's supposed to read the file. Well, it's doing it twice, so let's just take this out like this. File.read. Okay, we'll take that, put that there. And so there is our JSON printed as a single line. So that's how we want to see it, so that's perfect. So what I'm going to do is go here. I'm just going to call this data here. And then this way I can just call this JSON data. Okay, and so now I'm just hoping that this will work. I don't want to print this twice, so I'll just go ahead and do this. We'll hit clear here. Okay, I just want to see the response. The data structure might be different for this one here. The model's maximum length is 2,049 characters. However, your requested is 3,016 tokens. In your prompt, 64 for the completion. Please reduce your prompt or completion selection. So that's interesting. We say the max tokens here, but here clearly we have 2,049 tokens. So if we go back over to our model, So yeah, we're hitting some limits there. Trying to find that, yeah, here we go. So we'll go to text completion. Rate limits, 100 tokens per minute. DaVinci can do 1 token per minute. So what I'm trying to figure out here is how many tokens we're allowed to do for some of these models. Clearly there are some sets, some limitations. Max token. So each model we offer has a limited number of tokens that can be processed when making a request. That's what I want to know. Okay. So DaVinci can handle 8,000 tokens. And just this small request here that we're doing, if we go back over here, is 2,049. And that's not even the largest one. This is just the one that we have, right? So if we go back over to here, so I mean, it's not saying for our other ones, these are the text DaVinci, and they can handle twice as much, which is still not a lot, to be honest. Even GPT can only handle 4,000 tokens, but per request. Now, you could keep sending it data in chunks, and then it will better understand it. And that's probably why like there's like things like lang chain and stuff like that. So what it can do is it's like an agnostic tool that sits on top of all these different models, and then it can feed each part to them. Yeah, that doesn't seem very feasible. Okay. And down below here, these are all capped at 2,049. Yeah, so yeah, these hard limits are kind of an issue. So what I'm trying to understand is like, how do we work around that that limit there? Embeddings are numerable and state text that. Yeah. So let me think about this for a second, okay? All right, I'm back. I did some research on about how to work around this max token length, and actually that lang chain project I was showing you is possibly one way of working around it, but I don't think it's going to work because the strategy here of this project is that it will take different methods. You don't need to use this tool, but it's just that it makes it easier to do. But the idea is that you have a max token that you have to work around, and so what you can do is feed these models the code and then say summarize it and then roll it up. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but you can do a map reduce, you can refine the results, but I don't understand how it could do that on JSON, because if you're taking like a big blob of text and you know you had like pages of content and you had each page summarized and then you carried the data over, that makes sense. But for JSON, I don't know, then we'd have to keep breaking it up. So we'd have to take our file here, and for each part of the structure, we would have to, what we'd have to do is we'd say, ChatGPT, we're going to give you a JSON payload from this API endpoint. Because like, remember, it already knows things about AWS. And so I would say that from this payload, I'm going to send you chunks of this information because we can't send all the information. And so we would have to have like a bunch of little steps in order for us to make that summary work or to feed it parse information, that it's kind of pointless to do. It's such a brittle system or such a complex system. We might as well, we can either have cheap and brittle or complex and possibly expensive. So we're like, these two cases, we might as well go cheap and brittle because until they increase the token limits, and this is something that GPT is looking at doing, but like for $5,000 you can get per year, you can get like huge increase in tokens. It's either that or we'll have open source models that have a higher token one. So, like OpenAI alternatives with higher token max. And that's where we would have to find something, right? Something that would have a higher token max, because I don't want to work around limits in that way with these JSON payloads. Some of them are large, but to me they're not really that big. It's very repetitive text, so that's a bit of an issue here. But anyway, it was an interesting experiment, failed experiment, but interesting. So I'm just going to go here and comment this out. I just don't want to use this right now. I just want to take this out of my gem file. So we are not using this right now. But it was an interesting experiment. Now, that doesn't mean I can't use ChatGPT for grading. I just don't want to use it for this task. Like if it was to maybe look at a markdown file, that would make sense for chunking and trying to summarize. But for JSON reading, and especially look how much JSON I would want to feed to it. I want to feed all this JSON and say, hey, take this JSON and then tell me what's going on here, right? And that's a lot of data. So, unless I can feed it chunks of information, and maybe I can do that with ChatGPT, but you still have to think about the cost per token. And I don't know how many tokens are in all these files. I'd have to add them all up and then figure out the count. And that might be something we'll do at some point. But the other problem is, like, if someone has a lot of resources, then you have to worry about there being too much data. So there are those things for consideration. So it's a shame, but at least we know and we learned more about it. I mean, if you're watching this, then you are learning about generative AI and the limitations around it. Hopefully it's clear what I'm talking about here. But anyway, that was a fun little experiment, but we need to go back to our main application over here. And I guess we are basically doing it old school way. But again, this is the third time I've built sandboxes, and I think this way is going to be the best approach, is to have these mass files. And this was really nice, being able to download all these files en masse. So the thing is, we still want to be able to get all this data here. Some of these are reliant on other data points, so we need to go through each one and figure that out and try to figure out a normalized way for this to work, or some kind of DSL that we can have here. So this one, ACM describe certificate. If we go up to here, there's going to be one for list certificates, right? And so if this is our list of certificates, what we want to get out of this here is the thing. So we want to, for like this first one, what we want is we want to get the data from, and maybe there's multiple places you can get data from, but we want to get this from ACM, no, not describe, list certificates. Okay. And you know what? Let's go ahead and see if, I don't think it's going to help much, but we will try to use AWS's Code Whisperer to help us out here. Okay, copy that to our clipboard, open a new tab, paste it in. Don't make me log into Builder ID. Really hate logging into that. We'll say allow. We'll go back over to our code here. And what it'll do here is, well, I don't really want it to write any code yet, but the point is that we have over here the data we want to get. And so I need to extract out the certificate ARN. So here it says describe a certificate, and so it's possible that we are looking for a specific certificate. And actually, I don't even know what this one needs. Let's go ahead and take a look at ACM here. .rb here. And so this one wants the ARN, which is fine. So Yeah, I'm just trying to think about this for a moment. Because, this thing wants stuff, but maybe what we need is not, we need some kind of transformations or data extraction for different kinds of commands. That's what I'm kind of thinking here, is that's what we want, is to be able to extract out different information based on different parameters. And so for this one, I might say I want to get back this. I want to get back that. And from this one, all I really want is the certification ARNs. Yeah, I'm thinking about this. Asynchronous certificates. Yeah, let me think about this for a second, okay? So this is where I'm running into trouble. The idea is that these ones are cheap to call because we don't have to pass anything into them, but these ones we do. And so what I'm trying to do here is say like, okay, I want to fetch data, and do I want to fetch all the data up front or fetch it up in parts? Because if we get to this point, I'm trying to have all the data to then analyze, right? So I'm trying to have everything up front to analyze. Maybe that's the wrong approach. Maybe we should be failing sooner. And if we don't have stuff, we don't run and do those things. But the idea is that, if we grab all that data, it's a little bit different. So like other apps, other sandboxes, they'll do them in steps, right? So the idea is that, did you pass this? All right, we'll next look for the next thing. And then once you pass that, we'll look for the next thing. This thing is saying, suck up all the data and then tell me what's going on here, right? But you saw it takes some time to run those commands. And so the question really is should we be calling them all here like this, or should we be doing them sequentially, right? And exactly how we want it to go. And so that is kind of the challenge here. And so, do we want the snapshot model or do we want to do the step-by-step model? And I'm trying to decide whether I need both or singular, because it really does change the way this works. Because then, I don't have to call this or these calls. All I have to do is grab the last one. But the thing is that when people are submitting their work, it really is an all or nothing check. It's not going to fail at one step and say, hey, this thing is not correct. It's trying to check against a bunch of things. And so I think that's what I want to do is I want to hoover up all the information, even if it does take a little bit of time to run, because I'm not trying to do step-by-step labs. Now, it doesn't mean that I couldn't do that. It just means that I don't want to do that in this case. So I guess what I'm saying is I do want to hoover up all the data. And for those cases, I am going to have to get all of these values out of here. And this thing doesn't really need to know how that's going to work. It just needs to know like how it's going to get that data. So basically what I'm doing here, I'm just trying to create a new data structure. But the idea is that we are going here and I'm saying I want to run ACM, right? So I'm going here and I'm saying this is the command I want to run. Not sure what that is. That's just some code we grabbed from somewhere. But I want to run this command, right? So this is I can put a symbol there. It doesn't really matter. I'll make it a string. So this is the command I want to run. And so it needs inputted data. What it wants is these certificate ARNs. And so, yeah, the question is, should we be making a DSL or not? Because I was making DSLs before, and I mean, it was a different kind of DSL, but this one is more just transformative of the data. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that what is it going to return back, or what is the function that is responsible for doing that transformation? Because a lot of times what these are is that these are going to have iterations because there's going to be multiple objects. And so it's almost always going to be that case that we're going to iterate through stuff. It's not going to grab one instance of something and be done with it. So we're going to be iterating through all the data. So that's something that I'm thinking about. So just give me a moment again to think about it. I know I'm thinking a lot, but it's a hard choice. Okay. All right. To help me get this kick started, I don't want to work with this DSL here. What I like maybe, but really there's just two things. It's like, what is going to be the name of the there's three things. It's like, where's the data coming from? What is grabbing out the data, and what is the function that's going to handle it? That's my thoughts there. It's either that or, whatever the name is what the transformation is going to be. So I'm just trying to think, because sometimes you might have a different function that transforms or extracts out data as your payload. So what I'm going to do here is I guess the thing is that it's always going to return back a hash. So yeah, I think we need three things. We need where's the data coming from, the command we want to run against, the where the data is coming from. So, data in, so we have the transformer or data formatter. So formatter, data input, and command. So those are the four things we have here, okay? And so here we're saying ACM, this is actually what we want to run. This is the command, right? This is where we want to get the data from. And this will be, extract certificate ARNs, right? That's what it's doing. Now it's specific to this one here. So again, I'm just trying to think about like where would I place this function, because it is specific to this data set, right? And this is still wrong. It's supposed to be describe certificate here. Okay, go each do up here, and this will just be I don't know, data or whatever you want to call it, attribs here. And so up here we do have this here, right? And this is saying runner. So this is iterative run. And this is a little bit different because we have the command. We do have our attributes being passed in, so that's going to be the same. This is fine. This can be the same as well. But where this is different is the fact that we have these other two things, the data and the formatter. So we have data and formatter. Okay, and in this case, I think I'll want to go full here and just do command, because this is just so verbose. Data, formatter, like that. And then this would be attribs, that. So that's what that is. That's a hash. Attribs, data. And we have attribs formatter. Yep, just it's not really doing what I want, but that's fine. And then here is the actual data we want to pass in here, the parameters, params. Okay, and so that's going to be, it just stops doing that. That's going to be, that gets passed here, okay? And this needs to get indented. This needs to get indented. This is specific to this. This doesn't know what's going on, so we get to give this a parentheses. Okay, so now we have this iterative runner, okay? So we'll go over here to our runner. And so we need, an iterative run. Similar, but different. So we'll go over here, and I'm just going to split this so I can look at the old one while I make out the new one here. This is where the old one ends, so we'll go here. This is just run. So this one's going to be self-iterative run. And we have command, data, formatter, params. Okay. And so, you know, start time, still care about that. The other thing is that I would like this to output a block as well. So, I mean, this does produce a result here, but really it's doing this. It's saying result like this. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But anyway, well, we'll figure this out here in a second, okay? I mean, because I'm still trying to figure out, like, how do we add it to the manifest file, the results? We could just say, like, results here, and maybe it returns results. And then results is just going to be each do result here like this. That's the simplest solution. I was going to do something a bit more complex, but that's kind of overkill. And then we can go down here and just do that, right? So there's that. And so that will be for each individual result. And so iterative run, I guess, actually could be using run internally because it is using a command. And all we are doing is loading in specific data for it. So we don't even have to do the start set here. What we need to figure out is the attribs that's going to override, I suppose. So that's one thing. So at some point here, this is going to call this one here. Just going to go ahead and go up here for a moment. And we'll grab this for a moment here. Not what I wanted. Never copy paste. You know me, I don't ever have any luck here with this browser stuff. But anyway, we'll go down over here and this will be run. We'll still have the command here, attribs. But this will need some adjustment and then we'll just say return result as if that's happening here. Again, we don't have to do that. We could have this the last line and it will work fine. But the idea is in front of this, we need to figure out the data and the formatter to pass to the command, the data that it wants to have, right? And so different things are going to want different data. And so really the formatter needs to return back data. So this will be formatter attribs and from the formatter. Okay. And then from there, we want to then merge that data into here. That's really all what's happening here. Now, again, this is an iterative process. So the idea is that we are going to be iterating over stuff. The formatter is always going to be returning back iterative data. So this will be, so say, I'm just trying to think here, like formatter turns back data. So iterative data. Yeah, I know, not the best name. Yeah, formatter tribs, that's what I want. And I'm telling it to do that, it just doesn't want to take it. It's like, yeah, great, go I mode. There we go, that's why I wasn't in insert mode. It's because I'm using Vim. So I'm having a little bit more trouble. If you're using regular keys, you might not be struggling as much as I am over nothing. And so the idea here is we will go here, and this will return a result. We really want results up here, like this. And then we want to just push the results onto that. So we go here, and it would be results. Results.push here, results. And then we can return the results like that. Okay, so that's starting to get us where we want to go. The formatter needs to take data. So this data needs to get loaded in here somehow. Now the thing is that we download the JSON files and then we upload them for later. It was my kind of thinking that we would upload them all and then download them at some point for processing. So we'd say, oh, yep, we got all your data and it's confirmed it's all good to go. And then we would then pull it down again and then run it. Because then once it's stored there, we don't have to run it right away. we can just hold on to it, and then if an attempt fails to validate it, we can just always pull the data down and run it at another time, and that was the logic behind that. But at this stage, the data is downloaded on the local machine, and so we should take advantage of that and load the data in place as opposed to downloading it. So we do need to know where that data is. Now we could, in a future step, download it and process it, but this just is going to have to assume where that data is coming from. So the data does get placed somewhere, and we did not specify where it is here. And so we have this manifest file, but even the manifest file doesn't say where the data is, right? Like it's not, right now it's not loaded to a specific location. It's not even temporarily there. So, you know, we might want to get out of the manifest, because remember, as this is going, we're adding those payloads, and we could extract out that the data if it's still there. We don't have to save it to the manifest file, but we could just have it stored, its location locally. Okay, so maybe that's what we need to do, is change how the results are being returned here. So up here, we have that data being returned. So object key, that's fine. What about the result? This is the result that's being returned. I can put an explicit one here if it helps. And so the thing is that we don't need here the, well, this is what I want, is the output file, that's right. But right now, like, is it still called output file up here? I think it is, yes. And so we have the output file here, but we might not necessarily want to save that to the manifest, because then it's kind of exposing in the local system where that file resides, and for long-term storage when it goes up to the cloud. I guess we could just still have it there. I don't think it really hurts anything, to be honest. It does make the manifest a bit larger, but maybe it's not so much a problem. Now these things are stored here. How do we add them? Did we use a hash? Because if it's a hash, I think we used a hash. It'd make our lives like a lot easier for the manifest. So I'm just going to go over here, open up the manifest. Whoops. Manifest here. And these payloads, yeah, they're actually added by key. So then I can go here and say, you know, it'd be like get output file. And we could pass in the key. And we go payloads here. And we go key. And then we just say output file. And then that's how we would get that data, right? So that'd be the easiest way to grab the output file. So now what we can do, now the only issue is that we do need to actually have access to the manifest. So we are iterating over here on the outside of that result. But we need to load it prior, so I guess we'll have to pass it in. So I'm going to go here and just say manifest. And we'll say manifest. So it has access to that. Now, we don't have to do this iterative process on the outside. We could do it on the inside, but I just want to expose that out here because I really don't want to complicate the functionality of this too much. But we'll go up here and just say manifest. Okay. And from here, we can now get that location of that file. So we say manifest dot get output file. Where did that go? Where did our manifest file go here? Manifest. Whoops. Manifest here. And this says get output file. Yeah, I guess we could put it here. So we'll just say output file. And then we'll just say like file.read output file. And I mean, I could also just say get output, and then we could do JSON.parse like this. So this would be the data. JSON.parse. Do we already have JSON up here? Require JSON. Have to go back up here and say JSON. Well, it's not JSON now, it's just a hash. So data, and then we just return that hash. Just JSON data. Okay, assuming that it is valid JSON, there is a case like we saw where there was nothing in the file, so there would have been no way for it to read it. And so now what we can do is go back over to here. No, it was in our runner. And we can just say get output. And then what we can do is pass in the data. I just to make sure it is a string. And so that is the data key, I suppose. Really is data key. Okay. And we'll go up here. All right, just so we know exactly what that is, because that might get confusing. Formatter, the name of the function that will format the loaded data. Okay. Command is the command. We should know what that is. And so, yeah, that will load out that output there. And so that'll give us back a hash. And so now what we can do is pass that to I mean, it's just the data we need. This is data key. So now we can just say data here. And then I can pass in the data here into the formatter. And from there, I can iterate through it and work on that data that way. And then it will return the results there. So the thing now is this formatter here. How are we going to modify this formatter or name it or whatever? So here it says extract certificate orange. It doesn't say what it's extracting from. So that's a little bit frustrating. I guess what we could do is just follow convention like from whatever. We could do that. There's a few ways we could do that. So I'm just trying to think here. We did dynamically call this one based on, might even be, where is it here? We use send, and there's obviously other ways that we could send stuff and get stuff, but you know, we sent that command to commands, but we would need formatters. We would need formatters. And so I guess it's the same thing here. So we can go over to commands. I mean, I suppose what we could do is, I don't know if we really want to break this off into having formatters. I just really don't want things to get too scraggly here. But if we go into ACM, we have class methods here. There's really no reason we can't have extractors. So yeah, I'm just thinking about this for a second. Because we can either make these simple functions or we can rework these into classes. Just as a structure, right? The only difference is that one will have just functions underneath of them and the other one will have them as classes. And then technically you could then subdivide the classes into files and go all to town to and have like 1 billion files. It's not like a big deal to have more files. It just depends on how you want to organize it. But it is nice when they're in here because then we can audit them extremely quickly. So let's keep it simple, I guess, if this is even simple. And what we're going to do is just have them in here and follow a format. So the format will always have to start with something. So if we go back over to here, this could be, we have this extract, and it could be like from whatever. So I think I would rather lead with the actual command that we're getting it from. So extract certificate orange is going to be from this. So I'm going to go here and just go over here from this. I don't think there's a limit. Like, is there a limit on the length of Ruby function names? I don't know. I've never checked. There's no limit. Yeah, there is no limit size. And that's good because then we can name this exactly what it is. I know it's very verbose, but it does get the job done here. So what we'll do, again, we'll keep it simple for now. I just don't want to try to introduce a DSL because it's so easy to introduce a DSL. And now we're in Magic World and it makes it harder for people coming in to read the code. Whereas this is just a function. You can find a function. It's not as nice, but it will work. And so I can go here and paste this in here. And then I'll go down here. And so these are extractors. And so what I'll do is I'll just take this here and I'll just indicate that this is extractors. I just don't want to make separate files for extractors. Maybe we should. Maybe we should. Yeah, I guess we should. Sorry. I'm gonna make separate files. It's as complicated as it's gonna be. So we'll go here, we'll make a new file, or a new folder. We'll call these extractors or formatters. Well, what do we want to call it? Extractors or format? I guess it's really extractors and not formatters. So I'm gonna go back over here. And instead of calling these formatters, because we didn't have the right word for it, now we know what word we want to call it. We want to call these extractors. So I'm going to go here and just say extractor, extractor attribs, extractor attribs. We'll go back over to here, and this will be extractor. This will be extractor. And yeah, so that should make sense there. And so now coming back over, we'll go to our def modules, wherever that is. And in here, we need to have our extractor. Okay. And maybe what we could have done is naming this commands, we could have just named it command. Do you know what I mean? It might have been easier that way. I don't know. But I'm going to go here and go back up. Make a new file here. Call this extractor. Well, it really depends on how we want to structure these files, right? So, you know, that one, we load them all so that we can simply load them in place. That's the reason why we did it that way. So let me just think about this for a second. Going back over to our code here. I'm just trying to think here with our runner. Go back up here. Because we use that send command and we send the command to it. And so it's just convenient because they're all in the module namespace of commands. For this, it would be nice if we could break them up so that it was like the name and then the next part of it. You can't name modules lowercase though. So there's that. So I'm just thinking about it. Yeah, I'm just thinking. Give me a second here. So if runner was, sorry, if extractor was a class, and then it had a method on it, and then the method was used to find that, but you still have to write code to process it, so it's not really a great method of doing it. I guess just to make it easier, we should just follow the same pattern. So we'll have extractors here, and then in here I'm going to have that extractor file. So just make a new file here, extractor.rb. And in our CBVT file up here, we will have to require it. So we'll go here, and I'll just go below or where else, but I'm going to say payloads, AWS, extractor. So we're loading that file. But this has the same thing as well. So it's going to go here. We'll just say extractors. And this will be extractors like that. And so that will load the scope of those ones. We'll go over to our commands here. And this is going to look very similar. Extractors. Okay. And I mean, we could have done a transformation on like classify and took out this whole command modules, but we'll decide later if that's something we want to do. We don't need to refactor that right now. But it would eliminate that whole step because like here, I mean, Rails has it, but Ruby doesn't. But you could take the name of that first part and then just transform it, and then it would just classify it, and then that way you would need this command modules on everything. And then you wouldn't need to have that part in front of it. Yeah, that's a bit tricky. Anyway, so what we'll do is we'll go back over here, and we'll just focus on our convoluted pattern, not think of ways of creating DSLs. And I'm going to go here and put in extractors. And this is a class. Yes, this one's just called extractor. And then we're going to just load in the one that we need. So right now we need ACM, and we'll just write them when we need them. So, I mean, like, we'll be writing a lot, but, you know, for whatever it is that we need. So here, what I want to do is just go ahead and grab this. And we're going to go down into our extractors file that we just created, wherever that was, over, well, apparently we didn't make it yet. So we'll say new file here, acm.rb. I'm going to paste the contents in here, and I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom here and paste that in here. Okay, so we have this. This is supposed to be extractors, so we'll go here and say extractors. So that's all good. But now I want to bring in that extractor function, and we were going to put it here, but it looks like we removed it already. Can I undo it to bring it back? Sure. We'll paste that in here. Whoops, it didn't take it. We'll cut that out like this. We'll try this again here. Okay. And so there we go. There's our function. So this is following the pattern of the name of what we want it to be from certificate ARNs. Not the easiest to read, but you know what? It still is simpler in terms of code maintenance. We generally get the idea of what's going on here. So there's that. Now we could make it so that it always has to follow that pattern. So, you know, but yeah, maybe we should just leave the full name in here because it's not a big deal. I know it's just hard because I'm very tempted to keep making DSLs because I can do it, but I could make it so that here, like we wouldn't have to specify this part. It would just automatically search based on that and try to match it up on that. But this is more explicit. You'll know exactly what it's mapping against. So there's that. And then this is the data it needs to format. Okay. And so what we need to do is go over to this here. and try to find that. Now there are great tools for trying to find, like, parse through JSON, but that's not what we're doing here. Like there's like Ox, I think. Go over and check out Ox for a second. Ox and Ruby. We actually had to install it. It's an XML parser. It has its own like syntax language, so you can do ways of parsing it here. New top element. It's not showing me the parsing. Well, anyway, there is like languages you can use to crawl through, like, so like CSS selectors. I just don't know for Ruby hashes. I'm just wondering if there's any kind of structure like that. Selecting values easily out of nested Ruby hashes. Just wondering if there's already a solution out there. Not really. So, you know, we can manually write this stuff. We could also ask ChatGPT. So, because it knows about these structures. It's hard to feed this data to them. So, and also the question is, could this do this? So here, data, and it's saying X. We even say like extract the certificate ARN from the AWS CLI command output, JSON output for ACM list certificates. So let's see if it can do it. Because if it can do it, that'd be really nice. It's not really doing this correctly because it's showing certificate summary, right? We already know that this is incorrect. I mean, that's not right. Because here, what it needs to do, I mean, it's close, but we have to go data, and then here would be certificate. There we go. So it's kind of figuring it out. And so now what it's doing is it's returning back that map of information. But the way we need it is not like this. We need it, put this in a do instead. Do. And put this down here for a second. And so this needs to do a, I don't really like it using X, but that's fine. We need to return back this. We have to say like certificate ARN. It's whatever the output is expected by the thing that's going to use it, right? So, and I guess the thing is that this is being used for a very specific data set for the inputs, but whatever. We'll just have to work through this and just write through them as we go. But that would be the structure that we want back. That's all it really wants. And so that should return back the certificate ARNs. This already returns it because it just maps it. So it's as simple as that. But now we need to go back over to our runner. And in our runner here, it should be able to do that here. So here, we're going to iterate through our runner, but what we want to do is do that run call thing that we did, or the send thing, where's that send command? Not that it's that complicated, but it helps when I can see what I'm doing here. So we'll go up here, and we'll paste this here. And so this is now extractor, and it's really this up here, so this would be iterative data. And what we're passing here is the data, not the data key, but the extractor, which is it's the class function name, whatever it's called. It needs here the actual data, and that's pretty much its only parameters it needs. So if we go back over to ACM, where is our data? Where do we write this? Oh, yeah, that makes sense because it loads it over here. But this is supposed to say include, not what it's doing there. But if we go back over here, so this is what we want it to call. It only takes a single parameter, which is data, and it should return back that data. So now we have that iterative data here. So I'm going to go up here, and we'll paste it in here, right? Now, the only thing that is different here is it needs to have a different name. So the name is going to need to be different. The problem here is that the value has to be something that is okay to be read by S3 buckets. So I guess they're probably all safe because usually any ARNs or stuff like that, it's pretty safe for AWS. But if it's a certificate ARN, that's actually not that useful for us. So the other thing we need here is the identifier for each of these. So we can identify them, which is kind of annoying. And the reason I say that is that we might be downloading all the ones, but we might be interested in a very specific one, right? So we need that unique identifier. I'm just going to go over here for a second. And what we have is this value here. So that's probably what I would use. And so I really don't want to have to extract it out of there and say like exclude, you know, delete from hash. I think it's just delete, and it actually probably returns the values. Remove a key. So this would be for those who key value. So I think it would return the value there. So what we can do is we can just put this here and just say like iterative ID, because we need it to be unique. We don't want to call it ID just in case AWS has something called ID. And so in here, what I want to do is I want to extract out, I want to take this value here, just say ARN, and the ARN will go here, and then the iter ID is going to be this. But what I want to do is I want to split this on the /, and I want to just get the last value. And so that should get me that value because I think that is separated by a /. It is right there. And so that will get me the value that I want. Okay. And so, yeah, that should get me that iterative ID. So we always have to then make sure we return that over here for extractors. Coming back over to our runner here, this needs an iterative ID. So we have the extractor attribs, but I want to go here and say extractor attribs, and I want to say delete iter ID. I'll say, so we'll say iterative ID here. So it should return it, and the rest should be fine. It should just edit it in place, I think. Ruby hash delete. See if we can just read this for a second. It returns the entry. So here, delete will return the actual value. Okay, great. I just didn't know if it was going to do it in place or not, because there is sometimes the one with an interjection, and that works a little bit different. Interjection exclamation, sorry. So, yeah, return that iterative ID. We have a result here, but the issue still is the name. So over here, we want to go to extractor attribs, and we want to modify the file name, is what I believe we call that. Here, I know that this is in our other file, the AWS 20, it's actually just down here in this file. And so if we look at this file here for a moment, yeah, I think it's called file name. And so it's a good thing that we had that as an override, because we would have ran into troubles if we didn't do that. And so, yeah, this one is doing the gsub on it, but the issue here is that we need to modify it. So here, what I want to do is we can either put it after or in front or after. And just so that all the files line up, I'd rather put it afterwards, like before the .json. So what we'll do here is we will go and assign this to the attrib. So we'll say tribs file name, and I'm going to do a substitution. I'm going to look for .json, and I'm going to replace it with .json and then the iterative ID, ITR ID. And so hopefully that will give us the name that we want, and so that will make things a lot easier. Okay. And so I think that's all the plumbing we need to run this. Now, right now we are trying to run everything. And so for the current moment here, what I'd like to do is, we should probably separate these out. Let's see, global commands. This, just because it's easier to comment them out if we have them separate lines like this, global commands. And so right now I can just global commands, do this, and override it so that it's override, just to clear it out. ACMs is the only one we have for specifics right now, and then up here we'll do the same thing. So we'll go here, and I'm just going to bring this curly up here for a second. This will be region, primary region commands. Okay, we'll say primary region commands. I think it's primary region commands, yep. So same thing here. We do have one that is alternate. Oh, that's the one that we are running against, or no, is it? Maybe it's this one. I guess it doesn't really matter which one we do, but I'm going to go and just change this. So this will be alt region commands here like this. And then we can just do this, alt region commands. And I mean, I do want to have this at some point here like this. All I want to do is take this list, because I want to get from the main one for now. It doesn't really matter which one we do, but for some reason I want to do it in this one, so that's what I'm going to do. And so hopefully this will just work. I doubt it. Our things just never just work. And so we'll do bundle exec run AWS 2023. Bundle install was called, well, it's bundle exec is what I want. Probably gonna have to do the bundle exec. It's just out of habit that I do that. And we have to put rake in front of that, so we'll do that. Certificate ARN, so there's an issue with our extractor here. Yeah, we forgot the comma on this, so we'll do that. And it seems like it's outputting. Well, it errored out though. Undefined local variable or method ACM list certificates for this class on line 118. So we'll go to line 118 here, 118. And yeah, this is just floating loosely here for no reason. So I'm just going to go up here and follow suit. So this will be specific AWS resources, specific AWS resources, like that. Okay, and so we'll try this again. Fingers crossed that it works. Well, I mean, I just defined it here, but I must have spelt it wrong. You know me, I can't spell to save my life. And undefined local variable method command. Those are the same. Down here, right? So, yeah, I guess we'll just go here and we don't have to do G sub. It's just really a sub on this. G sub would do like, well, actually no, it would be a G sub. Sorry, G sub would be all instances of it, where the other one there's only one instance of JSON, so it wouldn't repeat twice. Go up. Missing keyword manifest. Oh, we are. Interesting. Did I miss that? Manifest, and this will be manifest. I really thought I passed it in there, but all right, I guess I'll pass it in again since I apparently missed it. Okay, nil is not a symbol nor a string on interactive. It's supposed to be iterative. Iterative. I can't spell iterative. So you know what? I'm just going to rename it to ITER. And if you don't like it, tough luck. As if you're arguing with me here. Okay, so I'm just going to go here and just say ITER. We'll go up here. Same issue, line 71. Again, I'm just going to change this to iterative data. And same thing here, just so there's no spelling mistakes. We'll try this again. We'll go up. Nil is not a symbol nor a string. Line 71, ITER run. It's up here. Extractor, which is there. Data is up here, which we returned there. Did we actually get the data back is the question. Well, I'm just trying to think about this for a moment. We actually have to have the data for it to work. And so that's probably the problem. So we still need to run the other one here. So wherever it is, this would be list certificates, right? We clearly need better, well, it actually does list certificates, so it does run that. So if we go over to our latest runs here, the latest would be where? On the top or the bottom? That's the question. Probably the bottom. So it is getting that data, so that is definitely there. Right, so that's not our problem, that the data is not there, because it clearly is. Is it here is a good question. So puts data. Yeah, we could do that. I'll just say puts. I just really want to make sure that that data is actually reaching this point. So we'll go here. And yes, so that data is being loaded at that point. So it's not a question of whether that data is there or not. It is definitely there. Here was saying it was expecting a symbol. Nil is not a symbol nor a string. And so it's saying that this value here is not being provided, I think. So if we go back over to here, to our, wherever we call this function, here, iterative run, where is it? Right here. Yeah, so that's spelled wrong. There's your problem. Great, so we'll go ahead and hit up now. And we'll go up and we'll see what the error is now. Well, heck, oh, you know what? This is still called formatter. That's why. Okay, so we'll paste that here. Extractor. Hit enter again. Attribs. Doesn't know what tribs are. Undefined local attribs. I mean, we called it params up here, and that's why there's that confusion. So I guess we'll say params. I mean, that's really what it is. It's the params. And so I'll go here and say params again. And so we'll give that a go. See if it likes that. And sorry, I was getting a little bit sweaty there. And just give me a second. I just want to see if my heat's on or not. It's like really hot in here. It is not hot. It's not on. It's just hot in here from my computer alone. So I guess I just have to make sure my computer is not running because it's really heating up this room. But anyway, so we have no implicit conversion nil into string, still having this issue here. Um, uh, runner line 91. Well, now it's farther along, and it's going to the output file. This is line 75 up here. So what's going on? Well, but it can't be the data because it already gets the data no problem, right? So what I want to do is put a puts here and see if we get to this. It data, and we'll say puts. Let's go here. Okay, we'll try this again. We could put pry in here and save ourselves a lot of trouble. So we are getting the data back, and so you see the iterative data, the certificate ARN, so that makes sense. So that's okay. Iterative ID. I guess the question is like, what values are the other ones in? No implicit conversion of nilt into string. But yeah, it's clearly returning the ARN for that. I'm not sure why it's only returning one, because I believe that there's actually more than one in there. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Let's go take a look at our JSON data here. Do we have more than one here? No, actually we just have one. Oh yeah, maybe US East 1 we have more than one. So, but just looking at this again, so it does make it to the iterative data, right? And we have the params there. Maybe that's the next thing we should look at here. Do we have anything else called attribs that will conflict with that? I don't think so. I'm going to go here, puts attribs. I'm hoping that will tell me something, because I don't know what the heck's going on here. Maybe it doesn't even make it to that point. It does. And so we have our attribs here. Command, data key, extractor. I'm just trying to think here. Well, it's not supposed to merge everything into there. So here it says extractor tribs. From up here, why does it have that in there? That doesn't seem right. Let's have another thing called attribs up here that we pass in. No. For some reason that looks a little bit funny to me. So, the file name is okay. Well, we should probably put a hyphen in between them though. And actually, what I might want to do is not just put a hyphen, but also put 2 underscores just to make that a little bit easier to read. So we have our extractor. The region's fine. The file name is fine. The certificate ARN is correct. We don't need the extractor in there. That's not supposed to be in there. I'm not sure why that's in there. Because the attractor attribs are from the iterative data. And the iterative data is not supposed to return anything other than that. So the extractor could have been passed in originally with the other data, but it shouldn't be because it gets passed in up here as that value, unless I just inserted it in the wrong place over here. So here, this goes to here, right? Oh, but this says attribs here. Oh, right. Okay, so this would be ITER. I don't know, like specific attribs. I really should have called it parameters. That'll explain why that's acting a little bit funny there. Okay, and so we can try this again. I'm not saying it will work, but I'm just saying that we might get a different result. So now we have an issue on the G sub, which is, I guess, a little bit better on line 133. Seems actually kind of worse. 133 of what file? Here. Right here, it's having an issue of the command. Oh, because this one is on specific tribs. That's fine. Okay, so that makes sense. And so this one's saying region and certificate aren't is missing. That's when it's trying to, I guess, attempt to run it. So the thing is that this thing takes certain values. How are we passing them in as the parameters? Wouldn't they all just expand in place? So if we went back over to here, yeah, this one just says certificate ARN there on the right-hand side in region. This one says global too. Which it's not supposed to do, actually. It's supposed to be whatever it's supposed to be for the specific one. What do we do for that? I mean, that would definitely be one thing that's wrong. I'm not saying that's what's messing it up, but that is wrong. Region-specific stuff, file name. Yeah, so we don't need to override that right here. Unless there was one that was global, which it's not. So we'll just take that out there for the, well, not this one, but for the specific commands here. We don't need to change that. Let's go back over to our runner here. And so I'm not worried about this data. This I might want to see. And so the attribs is going to pass all that stuff there. So the attribs should have the stuff that it wants. And so I'm looking there and we see project scope, run UUID, user UID. That's like all the data from the wrong place. That's not what we want. That's all the data from up here in the iterative data. So in the iterative data, we get the full payload. Well, no, we have data at the top. On line 70, that's what that stuff is. Oh, no, wait. Project scope is supposed to be there. Yeah, no, that's right. So project scope is supposed to be there for the runner. But the thing is that the runner doesn't know how to take additional parameters. Because there's parameters for the command function, and there's parameters that are just parameters. And so it's always going to be passing into all of them, the region and the output file. But whether it needs additional parameters is a different story. So we actually have to distinguish those somehow. And yeah, that's what we need to do. That's the problem. So what we need to do, I mean, we add them to the attribs there, but they wouldn't normally ever get passed along ever any other way, because when we're looking for specific resources, we probably have to specify that somehow. And so we do have extractor attribs, but really it would actually just be another parameter that we put on here. So we go here and we just, I know this seems a little bit verbose, but we'd go here to here and we would just say params, okay? Because this is the stuff that's getting extracted out, and then up here, this is really just, we're going to rewrite that here, the params again. So, you know, that it's uniquely identified, and then the extractor tribs are just going to go on there like that. Then we're really reading out the params here. And then over here we have the params. And now what we need to do is modify the way this thing works. So if we go up to the top here, well, we have a tribs. I guess we could pass params here instead like this, and then have an empty brace like that. And then instead of having to do that here, we can just go here and say params. It's not really not params. Extractor tribs. Terribly getting complicated here. But anyway, so we'll go here, and that will change that. But then we'll go up here. This last one is optional, but if we do have it, we can pass it along. So if we go up to our run here, right, we have params up here. I don't think we use params anywhere, so that's great. We have our send command, and our send command is what's passing along this additional stuff here. And so that is the second parameter, and those are expanded. And so what we need to do probably, I mean, it's nice that we have a tiny little refactor here. I don't know if this is going to work, but I think it might. What we need to do is actually have our params like this, and then we need to put a wildcard on it to expand it. And then what we can do is just take this stuff out, and this would just be like this here, like this. Okay. And then this one would be just the output file like this. But what we could do is go params here, and the output file should always be added to it, but the idea here is that we have params, and we're going to do output file like this. So we'll say output file. Yeah, it would be, I guess that. Because it's separate up there, right? No, it says the tribs here. No, output file's there, okay. So that's output file there, and then if the user region is global, then we'll go params. Yeah, like that. Like that. So now we can simplify this part. Okay, and so now we're passing along the params this way. And so hopefully it will expand there, because I don't know if it needs like double asterisk or stuff, because these are name params, or if that's going to mess up. Fingers crossed this works. We'll hit enter. Did not work. Wrong number of arguments. Given 1 expected 0 required keywords, region output file for ACM list certificates. So it's saying it's messing up for the first one. And so I'm just going to go here and do a puts. So just say puts params, puts p, like that. And we'll go up. And so what I'm looking for is output file, which is there. Region and output file. It's looking for both of those. So if the region is global, it's actually unless the region's global, not if. Okay, so we'll say unless, and then that will give it the parameters it wants. So it did download the first one, no problem. The second one is a little bit different. So hold on here. Output file, region. So it did get both of them, right? But it might not have expanded it. So expand parameters, pass a hash to an argument and expand them. Let's see if I can figure that out. Oh, it did know. It is double. Is it double splat? That's what I thought it was. It is, okay. So I can't remember. There's too many languages, too many syntaxes. But hey, at least I know. At least I can be pretty close to guessing. And we'll hit enter. So close to getting this to work. G sub for nil class. So it seems like, let's see here. This one is for list certificates. Different error, at least it's a different error. G sub for nil class on line 132 of the run. Here. I thought we fixed this already. We'll try this again. Paste. Enter. Hopefully I didn't break that somewhere else. Undefined method command on line 136. Oh, down here, yeah. Fair enough. Now, the only thing about this is that the command is not actually the command. It's going to be whatever the file name is because that's changed. So what we need to do here is we need to get that value out. And it depends on what's returned by the result. And so I would prefer to have... I'm going to put an exclamation mark here. This way I know it's going to modify the results here. But it's going to be easier if I just pull this in here. Okay, that's what this can be whatever you want it to mean, but usually that means that it's going to do operations on the interior. And so I'll just know that based on that syntax. And so we're going to go down to our iter run here. And instead of returning it, we're just going to go ahead and paste this here like this. Come on, you bugger. I copied you properly. We'll paste it in like this. And so now we're iterating through the results. The command is really the file name here. And so what I want to do here is go down here and modify, I want to say params, file name, and we'll just say new command, or, you know, payload key, and we'll just say remove or sub. That's exactly what I want, except for this part. I don't want that part. And so that will be our new payload key. And so the results are going to be a little bit different. We're going to have results, yeah, and payload key. And so for each of this, we'll say T. When I want a generic thing, I always write T. And so we'll say T 0, and then T 1. Okay, we could have made this like a hash. I just don't feel like doing that. We're going to go ahead and hit up, and fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Still doesn't work. We didn't put the exclamation here yet. ITER run, there it is. Now we'll do that. We'll go down here and hit up. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Yes, 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 yes. Now why it says 2, probably because they uploaded 2. So we'll go up to our latest run, which is down here. And we'll hit refresh. Might not be this file, might be a different folder. Yeah, we've clearly ran a lot here. And we'll go down and notice now we are getting this. So we are in successful territory here. Now we just got to roll this out to everything else. So that's enough for now. I'm tired. It's getting really hot in here. You know, it's like really almost midnight here. But what I have to do is go through, and we have to re-enable stuff, but we got to go through all the different use cases and do their transformation data over in wherever that file is, which is here. So we got to go through all of these, and when that's done, then we basically pulled our data, and now it's onto the analysis part. And yeah, I don't think we're going to be using OpenAI for this or LLM model unless somebody else figures it out for me. But we'll focus on using the old style of doing it, which will be fine. It'll work fine as long as this part is good. So iterative function here. Go ahead and save that. Sync the changes. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.